Hey, this is Dennis Alexander. Just letting you know your vehicle's ready. All right. All right, cool. He's coming out. He's pretty excited. This is one I promised a 1 hour repair, and I ended up spending about a little over 3 hours on this repair. We had the guy a bargain price, $200. It's $100 per panel we repaired, and we told him we would spend about an hour on each panel just to get it looking better for him. And this were the results. Enjoy the video. As always, thanks for watching. So when I arrived to his home, he had the vehicle wrapped up in the car cover. Hey, you can look at all the mildew on it. You can tell it's been there a while, but look at that dent on the fender. They obviously cracked the paint on both sides. There's a really hard, sharp crease. I mean, not crease, but crown at the edge of the dent. And there's a nice crease right in the middle. I thought this was gonna be an easy dent. I really did. But obviously I don't know anything about Mazda Miatas. So there was pretty much relatively no access from the fender, going through the fender. Once I took this fender liner off, splash guard, whatever you want to call it, I realized, damn, I can't really get a tool up there because the frame rail, the upper frame rail, was blocking the way about maybe 3 to 4 inches right there, the horizontal part of it that you're looking at. You really couldn't get a tool on it from the bottom of the wheel, so I had to open up the door and go through that area, and it was just really difficult, very time-consuming repair. So I learned a lesson. I'm glad I did this, and move on for the future. So what I started off with this was a Dent Craft double bend, as I almost always do if I can. I heated the panel up tremendously because it had been repainted before. And I used the big H64 mushroom style tip, similar to the blue one right here, but it was the red style. And I pushed a lot of the metal up as much as I could near that edge and knocked that crown down to release a lot of the tension. I'm tapping down all the high spots and releasing a lot of the tension from the crowns. There's a ton of crown work that need to be done on this repair. There's so much. So I worked it from both angles as much as I could to release a lot of that tension. So right here you see the dent. It's starting to come up. Now it's wanting to come up easily without cracking the paint. And I used as much heat as I could while I was pushing, so I didn't crack that paint, because obviously you don't want to crack the paint any worse than it already is. We know it's cracked, but my goal is to get this repair as close to great as I could in a timely fashion. And I think I spent maybe 3 hours, I believe, on the total repair, both fenders. So about two and a half hours maybe on this fender right here. And I'm glad I did, because it came out very nicely. Customer was super excited as well. But you want to definitely release the tension and the crowns as much as you can without trying to, so that way if you don't do that and you go to push the center of the dent, you're just going to lock it up and create so much work for yourself, and it's going to be extremely difficult. And on this dent, I started on the bottom and worked my way towards the edge of the fender where it meets the hood. And the reason why I did that is because there was a sharp crown right there at the edge where the fender rolls, and I wanted to release that and then work my way in. And that's what I did. And it came out very nicely for me. So here it is, about once I released that high crown and got the roll out, and now I got maybe 2 inches left right there near the edge of the fender. So what I decided to do was snake my circus rod from PDR Finesse Tools and use not the sharp tip, but the curve. So imagine this is the tip or the curve. Instead of using the tip, I used the elbow or the bend in the rod, and I pushed with the bend, which is a great tip you guys can use for pushing, and it was able to remove a lot of damage very quickly without putting pokey marks in there. So you don't always have to use the tip. You can use the elbow or the bend of your tool as well to push dents. And right there near the edge of the fender, the sharp tip wouldn't reach, but the elbow bend would. So it was perfect for that. So I don't know what I would have done without that, because I couldn't get a cherry tip in there. That wouldn't fit. So this was the best thing I could come up with, and it worked extremely well. And I made sure I kept plenty of heat on the panel at all times throughout the repair. And then once I was able to remove a lot of that metal up cleanly, using the bend, the curve of the tool, I had to blend out and release a lot more tension that I found and noticed once I put my light further back. And that's what you see here. I'm using a longer knockdown tool. Give me greater access, or greater, I forget the word, but better sight. So this is what it looks like after I clean it up from that angle. It looks pretty decent. I mean, for what it was. I mean, so once I was able to do all that, I got my Dent Dollies out. These are from Dent Craft. They have 3 different radius: straight, slightly curved, and then fully curved. You see the red one's fully curved, the blue one's straight, and then the yellow has a slight curve to it. And that little, where the chip paint is, there was a little bump. So the panel's straight, and then it had a little bump there, and that was keeping the paint, the dent from lifting up. So if you ever see that on the edge of your panels, where there's a bump on the edge, out on the outside, take your Dent Dolly or your rubber mallet and tap it down and to release a lot of that tension. But you want to do that after you remove as much of the dent as you possibly can without really creating damage, or for the most part. So you can see that there's a little bit of a bump there. You can easily see it. I started off with the yellow one to knock as much as the bump as I could by itself. I just tapped it down a little bit, and then I went to the straight edge, and you can see, yep, you can see I'm rolling it on that bump. Straight, completely no roll, and then here you can see it rolling. There's a little bit of camber there. So what I did, I heat the panel up as much as I could. Don't want the paint cracking more than it already is. And once I did that, I took my red hammer, my dead blow red hammer, and I just hit that dent dolly until the dent started coming up. It knocked that crown in on the edge of the panel and lifted up the dent. That's what it does. So when you got a crown, it taps the crown in and lifts the dent up. And you'll see, don't hit it super hard your first 2 or 3 times. Hit it kind of soft. See what the damage does, and once you get used to doing that, then you can kind of really know, okay, I need to hit it much harder this time. Just take your time and don't overdo it, because if you do that, you can create irreversible damage at that point, and you don't want to do that. So what I'm doing, I'm feeling there's a little lip just above that's outside of that fender, and I wanted to stay above that lip, and that way I can knock down the crown instead of actually knocking in the fender and just creating distorted metal everywhere. Sorry I couldn't get a better view of it. I didn't really realize this is from the GoPro, so I didn't. Sorry. So once I did that, I shut the hood and I checked for panel gap, because sometimes the fender can be knocked over and you create a wider gap, and you want to tighten that gap back up if that were the case. So here's the damage on the other side. Obviously there's chip cracked paint all over this panel. Missing paint everywhere. So I just made it look the best I could with what I saw. And a tip is for you, if you have those cherry tips and they're hard to come off, and they're very difficult to put back onto those R4 tips, just slightly heat up the cherry tip and it'll just slide right in place onto that R4 tip. And same thing, taking it off, just slightly heat it up and it'll just come right off. And that's what I usually do. And here I'm using a PDR Finesse fender tool to get as much of the damage as I could. And I looked head on the whole time on this. I didn't look at really too much of an angle. And I was able to get a lot of the repair out pretty clean, or a lot of the dent out pretty clean and very quickly, looking head on. And then once I did that, I cleaned it up a little bit, looking at horizontal or perpendicular to the panel, as you can see here. And then that's it. I didn't spend too much time on this. Check this out. This is great. Customer came out and hey, this is Dennis Alexander. Just letting you know your vehicle's ready. All right. All right, cool. He's coming out. He's pretty excited. This is one I promised a 1 hour repair, and I ended up spending about a little over 3 hours on this repair. Yeah, so I called the customer. I told him that the vehicle's ready, and he doesn't know that I'm filming him. So this is an honest reaction, and that's why I did that. It was difficult, mainly because of
whoa, how'd you do that? That's a trap.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Very difficult. This one was difficult just because of there was limited access. I do a lot of different things out there. But I did it for you.
I actually found the old Paintless manual, you know, like and I'm like looking up body, and it had like where you. I said, if you can't get access to it, you know, put like a screw in it and pull it out.
Oh yeah, that's old school method. They did that early '90s. I mean, that's pretty much no longer exists.
I figured, well, the manual was an old vehicle.
I mean, that was a common practice back in the day.
How'd you do that?
So I just
like seriously, do you have to heat it up and stuff?
Well, I did heat this up mainly because that was a sharp crease, and it already caught the paint here and here. And I didn't want it to keep cracking paint, so I kept heating it up. And it's been repainted before, which makes it worse.
Oh yeah, and it's a crappy paint job.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a great paint job.
Yeah.
The best paint job you're going to get is from the factory. Nothing can match that. So I'm always heating it up to keep it from cracking and things like that. And that's what this turned out fantastic for what it was.
Did you take some pictures?
Oh yeah, I did. Sure did.
Man. So I wish I came out to see. So from the inside too, you just gotta tap it and kind of.
Yeah, I've got a video of it. I'll create the video and send it to you.
That's awesome. Man.
This I didn't spend so much time on it just because you couldn't really see what was going on because of all the scratches.
Yeah.
But I cleaned it up the best I could with what I could see.
Man, I want to go drive it now. I'm proud to drive it.
After damage on the right fender. Here's the before. Here's what it looks like after the repair on the driver's side. Remember that big crown that was on there in the deep crease? And this is what a repair looks like when the customer wants it to look better, and we don't offer a perfect repair. Perfect repair maybe would have took another couple hours to get it completely out. Obviously there was chip paint, they would have touched that up. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, have a great day.